energy is a key driver of every economy. In Ghana, the growth of the petroleum industry over the years has contributed significantly to GDP and economic development altogether. The petroleum industry comprises the upstream, midstream, and downstream. The downstream petroleum sector, which has been regulated by National Petroleum Authority (NPA) since 2005, involves importation, exportation, refining of crude, storage, sales, marketing, and distribution of petroleum products. The downstream industry has had a vast variety of participants, including state-owned companies and international oil companies, since Ghana's independence in 1957. In 2005, the government embarked on a deregulation reform which made it easier for private companies to participate in import, distribution, and marketing of petroleum products. The reform led to the erection of many new service stations across the country and formalized much of the downstream market. The Ghanaian downstream sector has been through major phases, with deregulation being the most prominent. In June 2015, the NPA implemented the final phase, being price liberalization. Currently, there are nearly 200 licensed petroleum service providers made up of bulk distribution companies, BDCs, oil marketing companies, OMCs, the LPGMCs being liquefied petroleum gas marketing companies, and storage terminals. In today's episode, we will delve into the journey of the downstream sector. I have here today Mr. Henry Akwabwa. Hello. Thought I should surprise you here.
Hey, what a surprise.
How's it going?
Not bad, not bad. Yourself?
Okay, good.
What are you doing in this area?
So, I got a win you're here every morning, so I should just catch you here before we have breakfast.
Your intelligence sources must be.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you here every day?
I think four to 5 times a week. Yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you manage it getting? Oh, you come really early?
Very early. I mean, play a game, take a shower there, get dressed for the
For
office.
work?
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Because I can see the fitness, you know.
That's what they compliment, yeah.
So how long have you been playing for?
Since 2008. So that's about 14 years now. There about, is it 14? Yeah.
Completely a Federer now.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm also a great fan of Roger Federer. So you can say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, 2008.
Yeah.
But why tennis? Why not any other sport?
Well, it's a sport that gets you moving. I mean, that exercises every part of the body.
Okay.
Of course, the values associated with tennis also resonate with me. So I thought it was the best sport.
What kind of values are those?
Integrity, key, teamwork.
Okay.
I mean, networking. How do you really call that a value? But of course, yeah, you meet lots of people, and I mean, of course, also a widely known sport. So
yeah. And then exercising the whole body.
Yes, yeah.
That's nice. So I'll just watch you finish up, then we can go have breakfast.
Okay then.
Okay. Welcome to Energy Quest. With me here today is a man with a wealth of experience in the downstream sector of Ghana. He's the outgoing managing director of Engine Ghana and also the chairman of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, AOMC. Henry, welcome to Energy Quest.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so before we delve into downstream matters, tell us a bit about your experience over the period in the industry.
Well, my stint in here started with Ghana Oil Company, GHOne,
Okay.
in 2009. when I was hired as the Strategy and Business Development Manager of GHOne.
Okay.
My role entailed investor relations. GHOne is listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, so I was in charge of investor relations, dealing with the stock exchange. Then I was also put in charge of trading. At that time, GHOne started to trade in finished petroleum products.
Oh, really?
So I was bringing in cargoes, I mean, for GHOne's own use and also to sell to the market. Then I assisted the managing director at the time, reviewing business performance, representing him at meetings, industry meetings and all that. Basically, that's how I entered the downstream oil sector. But prior to that, I had worked with AP Moller Maersk, the shipping giant, headquartered in Denmark. I worked there for 7 years, and my last held role was Cluster Logistics Manager for Ghana and Burkina Faso.
Okay.
So from shipping, I jumped into
the oil industry.
Yeah.
So from GHOne, then you went straight to engine?
Yes, from GHOne, then went to engine. Of course, I'm not sure you are too interested to know about how I got there and all that, but long story short is I found myself at Engine Ghana Limited as the country manager and managing director. Of course, at the time, Engine was headquartered in Cape Town, South Africa. And for the past 11 years, I mean, until 31st July,
wow,
I have been the managing director of that company.
11 years?
Yeah.
That's a real long time.
So, I mean, altogether, I have, call it, nearly 13, 14 years in the oil industry.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. And then how long were you managing the chairman of AOMC, right?
Yes, I served on the board of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies for 6 years. I mean, per the constitution of the association, you can be a board member for 2 consecutive terms.
Okay.
After the second term, you have to make way for others to come and serve on the board.
Yeah.
So I served the first 4 years, and then step aside for the next 2 years. Then I was elected again for another 2-year term.
I bet it was because you made an impact.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, it is for them to say, but
of course, yeah.
I'm sure it's for a good reason why they brought me back on the board. So I served the first 2-year term, then I started the second 2-year term. And that was when they decided that I should be the chairman of the association.
Wow,
yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So for this long, I'm sure there's been some prominent events that have shaped the industry that you experienced.
Definitely. I mean, anyone who is familiar with the downstream oil industry can attest to the fact that we have gone through some kind of evolution.
Phases.
In 2015, or even going back in 2004, 2005, the government at the time decided to liberalize the industry.
Yeah.
So that was when deregulation actually started, whereby the traditional or the known oil marketing companies now had to contend with indigenous oil marketing companies. So it started in 2004, and I think we have evolved over
gradually,
the period.
Yeah.
2015 was when we actually got to the point where things had to take what I call a dramatic change. I mean,
a very significant one.
Of course, I mean, moving from a regulated regime to a deregulated regime.
The price deregulation.
I mean, price deregulation and everything that has to do with deregulation started in 2015. So I have seen an industry that was then run by, say, 20 oil marketing companies to about 170 oil marketing companies today.
Survival in the same market.
I mean, and the market is not growing at the rate that new entrants are coming into the market. So it puts a lot of pressure, constraints on the existing ones.
So, because if price is liberalized, that means that you're pricing on your own. Market forces now come in. It's going to push, you know, if it pushes competition, it means margins will be affected.
Definitely. I mean, of course, over the period, and looking at from 2015 to now, which is more than 5 years, we have seen margins diminishing. Oil marketing companies are struggling to make decent margins against the increasing cost of operations. You're looking at the district assemblies, the metropolitan district assemblies, and all those guys, all the levies and the fees and licenses that we need to pay to them. The Ghana Standards Authority, the Environmental Protection Authority, and all the allied agencies that deal with the oil marketing companies. Year on year, their fees have been revised upwards. But that is not in line with the upward adjustment of margins. So, I mean, end of the day, oil marketing companies are getting squeezed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So have there been lots of them falling off along the way, or they're surviving anyway?
Definitely. I mean, at the last check, we had about 48 oil marketing companies that have gone underwater. Either they owe the GRA or other regulatory bodies, for which reason they are not able to operate. Their licenses have been not revoked, but I mean have been frozen. They cannot access the DMS system. As such, they are not able to load products. And for me, that brings into question the kind of corporate governance structures that some of these oil marketing companies have put in place. Because that is the only way you can survive this environment. If you don't get the structures right, you cannot survive. Yeah,
because it's a tough one.
It
is.
The
challenges keep coming. And
definitely it is.
Yeah. So how best can everybody survive? Because it looks like it's going to be like this. I mean, or you think there's a solution?
Well, I think that deregulation has brought in its trail a fierce price competition. So today, you are seeing a number of oil marketing companies that are selling far below the average industry price. And the question you ask yourself is, how are they able to do it?
How is it adding up?
I don't know how they do it. Because, I mean, we all source from the same suppliers, the bulk distribution companies. And it's not as if, I mean, there's this thing about cash prices and all that, but how much discount would you get from a bulk distribution company for buying at cash? Maybe 5-7% discount. But the prices that we see on the market is such that you wonder if these players are indeed paying the right taxes and other levies, which all add to the export price that we see. So I have called, I mean, in my position as the chairman of the oil marketing companies, has called on the agencies, on the GRA, on the Ministry of Finance, on the MPA, that there are some numbers in there that seem to be outliers. And they need to be investigated. Of course, I mean, you may see it as Big Brother reporting his, his small brother to the regulatory agencies to investigate, but the right thing must be done. I mean, it doesn't end there. We've seen a number of OMCs who, in their bid to match such, I mean, these relatively lower prices, shooting themselves in the foot. Because if you're unable to cover your cost, that means you're incurring losses upon losses. If the government does not suffer, your suppliers will suffer because you cannot pay them on time or even in full. So some OMCs have been charging prices that they cannot accommodate in their price build-up. And for that reason, today are kind of underwater.
Because it looks like they postpone, so they know there's a liability, but they'll sell lower and then postpone the liability whenever they'll deal with it, and then it builds up.
It builds up. I mean, and the last time I had a meeting with the commissioner of the GRA, I mean, he said to me, your members are owing the GRA to the tune of 500 million cedis.
What?
And I asked myself, how did that happen? All because if you don't recover your costs fully, then it's difficult to honor your tax obligations. And that's the situation we find most of these OMCs in. We need to address
500 million.
500, almost $100 million.
Is that really accurate?
It is accurate. I mean, I have the numbers. I mean, he gave me the full details of who owes how much. But again, I mean, the GRA also need to put his house in order.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean, in the downstream sector, when you lift products, on the 21st day, you have to pay all the taxes and levies.
Exactly. Else they cut you out.
So
that's why I wonder how they accrue it.
So, I mean, I'm sure they get into some kind of negotiations with the GRA. They give them a payment plan.
Yeah.
And they again default on this payment plan. So it keeps building up.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't have assets that you can even liquidate to take care of these liabilities. So we need to be careful. The GRA needs to, as it were, you know, sit up, do their own house cleaning, because of course there are elements in the GRA who more or less are also
part of the problem.
Part of the problem.
Yeah.
So that has to be addressed. Otherwise, when they owe the GRA, they begin to owe their suppliers, and then the loans that they have taken from the banks for expansion and all that, they are not able to pay back.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
It is a cycle, and that really scares me, that one day, if we are not careful, we'll wake up to very bad news.
Yeah, yes.
That a number of banks have collapsed as a result of
if we go down, we all go down together.
Definitely, that's how it is.
Okay, so as part of price liberalization benefits, the legacy debts that were accrued before, in terms of the government's owing the BDCs from forex and subsidies and all that has ceased. That means they have better capital, better cash flow and all that. Have the OMCs benefited from that?
Definitely. I mean, there was a time when we struggled to get products to sell.
Yeah.
All because these BDCs were owned by the government, and as a result, they could not raise the financial instruments to bring in products. So, I mean, for an OMC, for any day that you lose sales, there's no way you can recover it.
It's gone.
So, we were in, it was a very challenging period. But of course, once these legacy debts were settled, of course, the BDCs were in a position to now provide or supply us with products in a seamless fashion.
Yeah,
and,
so
I
we
mean,
no more have the 4 gallons and those queues.
No, not at all. Not
back.
at all. I think now we have more than we need to sell. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what has been the biggest challenges that the downstream has faced?
Well, I think I would trace it to the price deregulation. Of course, deregulation started a long time ago. That was why a lot of players came into the industry.
Licensing came in and all that.
But for me, the turning point was when the government decided that let's deregulate the pricing.
Take foot off price, yeah.
Whereby, of course, this is not a full deregulation if you ask me, because we still work with the pricing formula provided by the government. So more or less, it's like the government passing the buck
yeah.
to the BDCs and the OMCs to say, okay, you guys, this is the pricing formula. Work with it. If it works for you, take it. If it doesn't work for you, deal with it.
But
you know,
you can't help it. You just have to work with it.
Exactly. You know, so price regulation, of course, has enabled a lot of the BDCs to recover their costs fully, which is what we need. If there's full cost recovery, it means that there'll be a seamless flow or supply of products.
Yeah.
That is what the industry needs. So if BDCs price well, they don't have to go chase the government for any under recoveries.
Sit and wait.
No, not at all.
When the money can run.
So on that side, I think price regulation has been very good. The other side is the price competition that has come in Israel, such that, I mean, it's very difficult for a lot of companies to cope or match the prices that others are doing.
Yeah.
And how they're able to do it, I'm not sure.
No, but some say that the rice seller, the sugar seller, brings in products, sells it on the market, competes with his neighbor, and they survive. So why is the oil industry having a hard time?
But to the extent that we are witnessing, leaves a lot of questions. I mean, if we all know the average industry price, And I always use the example of the top 3 companies. I mean, you're looking at GHOne,
Total.
Total, and Vivo. If you are selling at, say, 1 CD below their price, or anything more than 50 pesos below their price, then we need to investigate it.
Okay.
I mean, what is it that makes it possible? Is it the synergies that you have in sourcing for products? Is it that you are not paying the taxes that others are paying? Or what exactly is the situation that makes it possible? I mean, we have already spoken about cash purchases. The maximum discount you get in that space is probably 7 to 10 pesos. If you slap that on your export price, you cannot be so far off.
No, but let me play the devil's advocate here. Have you thought of the fact that this is business, so some people can have some ingenious way, I don't know, some way of working out maybe their cost build up, something they may be doing there that gives them room. Maybe could be sacrificing something, reducing stuff, something that others are not doing.
We have a number of integrated companies, and of course integration comes at different levels. You may have an OMC that is affiliated to a BDC, and for that reason, maybe they'll be looking at the combined margin of the BDC and the OMC,
great.
And that may place them in a certain position. You have an OMC that has no affiliation with the BDC, but maybe has the transport margin to play with, and sometimes may decide to forgo the marketer's margin. But even that, you cannot display that level of...
Still doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. I mean, again, anyone, and I keep saying, anyone who is able to sell or display prices that is like maybe 80 pesos below the average industry price needs to be investigated. So we need to, again, the actions of these OMCs who, as it were, claim to have synergies with sourcing and all that, for which reason puts others in a disadvantaged position, needs to be, I mean, we need to unpack it. Because, I mean, being in the position as chairman of the association, I have OMCs calling me on a daily basis to complain about the difficulties that they have in selling their products because their prices are relatively higher than others next door.
Wow. Okay, but on the AOMC, what's the AOMC itself doing to promote the sector to?
Well, the Deregulation Act is such that you do not have to create a certain situation where you are seen to be promoting cartel.
Okay.
So all that we have tried to do is to give the OMCs guidelines on how to price. Unfortunately for us, of course, there are many new OMCs who do not understand the basics of operating an oil marketing company.
But they are in the business.
But they are in the business. I mean, how they got in, I'm sure that's another topic you may want to discuss. How they got in there, we don't know. But what we are trying to do is to build the capacities of these OMCs, provide them with the guidelines. There have been talks about giving indications for every window as to what a ceiling price should be and what a floor price should be, so that we play in between there. Once members subscribe to that, I'm sure the association will be in the position to provide them with with those indications.
To support.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm interested in export. The industry has been exportation of refined products to the landlord countries. Has it been beneficial to us? Because there were some issues before. How is that?
Petroleum product export is fraud.
Why do you say so?